Nerlens Noel is suing, yes, suing Clutch Sports and the agent, the very famous super agent, Rich Paul. So let's talk about it. Let's move forward to the NBA, where the New York Knicks center, Nerlens Noel, is going after one of the most powerful agents in the NBA in Rich Paul. This week, Noel filed a lawsuit against agent Rich Paul and Clutch Sports, claiming that he lost $58 million in salary while as a client of Paul's from 2017 through 2020. Noel claims that Paul was in breach of contract, breach of fiduciary duty, and neglectful of Noel, his client at the time. Noel took action after Clutch Sports recently filed a grievance with the National Basketball Players Association, claiming that Noel hadn't paid a $200,000 bill in commission on the previous one-year contract with the Knicks. So there's a bit of a history between the two parties at play here. For those of you who don't know, Rich Paul is an NBA super agent. Some of his most notable clients are people like John Wall, Anthony Davis, Ben Simmons, and of course, most notably, LeBron James. That was like his first big client. So there's a lot to talk about here, and this is when sports. This is a unfun side of sports, the very sad side of sports that people don't want to talk about, where money gets held up and whatnot. So there's a lot to talk about here. First of all, I just want to address this. Initially, what do I make of all of this? Initially, it seems like Noel is claiming that while he was an agent, while he was a client of Rich Paul, when he had a great season, he had a season with the Mavs where he averaged 10 points, 7 rebounds, and a block a game. Like not elite, but very good and worth a big contract. Now, Noel, who was represented by another agent before, claims that he had received an extension offer from the Mavericks in 2013. On a not in 2013, but he had after that season with the Mavericks, he had received an offer, 4 years, $70 million. And Paul allegedly pitched Noel as a client by saying he was a, quote, $100 million man and could receive a max offer if he became Paul's client. So Noel then hired Paul and subsequently rejected the Mavericks offer, instead signing the $4.1 million qualifying offer to become a free agent the following summer. So Rich Paul essentially kind of persuaded Nerlens Noel to bet on himself to become a $100 million max contract player the next year. And that decision would prove to be very costly for Noel, as he struggled in the following year, only playing 30 games, being injured, and hit career lows in every major statistical category. So that's the point where Nerlens Noel claims that Paul had become, negligent in his duty, and he began to apparently lose interest in him as a client. And when he hit unrestricted free agency in 2018, he claims neither Paul nor anyone at his agency at Clutch Sports presented any offers or strategies to alleviate the situation. So instead of signing a max contract, Nerlens Noel instead ended up signing the league minimum deal with Oklahoma City for 2 years, ended up making like $3 billion off of that. And then they broke off. And look, from Nerlens Noel's side, I can understand this. I can understand frustration from having missed out on a life-changing opportunity. Because I don't care what anyone tells you, $50 million to play basketball. And I know it's for $58 million to play basketball. I know it's not, big comparatively to a lot of the contracts we're seeing. That is a shit ton of money. That is a shit ton of life-changing money. That is generational wealth. So I don't want to hear oh my God, well, he's not, well, he should have wanted more anyway. Well, okay, you should have wanted more, but still, $58 million is a life-changing amount of money. And that's why Nerlens Noel is probably pissed, because he's like, man, I could have had that money. And now I'm playing for what, $3 million a year? So I understand his frustration on that level, but I'm not going to say that I agree with the idea that Rich Paul, persuading Nerlens Noel that he should wait until the next year to get that max contract. I don't think that's on Rich Paul. That's on Nerlens Noel for getting persuaded. That's on Nerlens Noel for betting on himself. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes betting on yourself works out. Look at Joe Flacco in 2012. He bet on himself. He didn't sign a minimal contract extension with the Ravens going into that season. What does he do? He goes out and has his best year, wins the Super Bowl, gets Super Bowl MVP, becomes the highest paid player in the NFL. Sometimes it works out. Other times, like in this case with Nerlens Noel, it doesn't. That's why in sports, you got to take your money while you can. You got to go to the bank while you can. Sports is a cutthroat business. And when you have money on the table like that, and you're in the position where Nerlens Noel was in, you probably should have taken the money. So that's why I guess Nerlens Noel is possibly angry. Now, as far as the claims of Nerlens Noel and the negligence that happened after that year, at the point where Nerlens Noel said that Paul began to lose interest and, he never really reached out or he never got any good offers for him, Nerlens Noel might have a point there. Because if there's truth to that, if there's evidence that Rich Paul began to lose interest in Nerlens Noel as a client and didn't represent him to the best of his ability, he might have a case. However, I struggle to really think of ways to prove that. I think that's going to be very difficult, especially in a court of law. I know even private law or civil law rather. There's a little more bend to the rules. There's less burden, but even that, I struggle to see how you can prove that there was a lack of interest, unless you can prove that Nerlens Noel reached out at many points and never got a response back. Maybe, but I'm not sure what the evidence is. I'm sure that'll come out over time. So if that's the case, then Nerlens Noel does have a point. But at the end of the day, I do think for a large portion of this, it's on Nerlens Noel for betting on himself. That's the breaks. Them's the breaks, kid, as someone once said. You have to be able to look at the situation, and when you're an athlete, when you're just coming off your best year, sometimes you just got to take what you got and go with it and wait for the next contract to come around. Especially when you're in a position where Nerlens Noel was, where he was a highly touted prospect out of college, and he fell in the draft a little bit. He struggled his first few years, and then when he got to Dallas, he did well. And he had his best year, and people were like, oh, he's finally catching up. At that point, maybe, who knows, maybe you've maxed out, maybe you haven't. Take the money. And I think that's a lesson that a lot of people can learn from this. And again, if Rich Paul was truly negligent in the way that he represented Nerlens Noel, then yeah, Rich Paul needs to be held to account too. I just struggle to see how you prove that. That's been my thing. I just don't know how you prove that in a court of law to other people. But we'll see if Nerlens Noel can do that. Thanks for watching this video from Real Take Sports Talk. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also, remember to check out our live show every single Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. And remember, keep it real.